Today, I'm in conversation with an author, CEO, and he's a solar professional. We are going to find out how he's doing, helping people with the save energy through solar. And that's not all, he is a realtor as well. Please help me welcome Rodney H. Dixon. Welcome, Rodney.
Hello, how you doing, Mohammed? Thank you very much for having me.
Let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who were you surrounded with that inspired you to do what you do today?
Wow, so I do a lot of things. So first of all, my inspiration is from God, and two, I've had mentors throughout the way, and there's too many to number. But the artist Prince and Stan Lee would be two that people know.
What are top 3 mistakes people can avoid?
In business or life?
It's your take, whatever you want to offer to the audience.
Avoid being all into yourself. Avoid the self. Always look for that source outside of you. For me, that source is God. So look outside of yourself. Two, accept that you are going to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes instead of beating yourself over the top of the head for those mistakes. And then three, leave room for something new to be introduced to you rather than everything being evolving around what you already know. Be open to new ideas and new information.
What is your greatest failure? What did you learn and how did you recover from it?
Well, I don't have any failures because I've learned and then recovered from it. So the word failure really doesn't exist. I've had defeats, whether it be sports, not doing a business deal. I'll give you an example. I contacted some friends over in Bahrain, and I wanted to get involved with this particular stock and trying to get this money for it. The stock was at $5 a share. They didn't do it for whatever reason. The stock raised up, got all the way up to almost $100 a share. Well, it actually did hit $100 a share. And today it's around the 40-something dollar area. But when I contacted them to try to get them involved, it was at $5. So there it goes right there, right?
What are top 3 success secrets that others can follow?
Okay, so one would be looking at the movement, the trends of life rather than only academics, right? Trying to read, sort of like they say, the Indians used to say, read the tea leaves, right? Two is to diversify yourself. Don't get caught up into your own ethnicity, your own race, your own country, your own environment. That's part of that, what we talked about before, going outside of yourself, right? And then three, once you do hone into what it is that you want to do, you got to go after it like you were training in a sport. No matter what it is, even in life, you have to still deal with it in the same manner as if you were training for a sport to win an athletic competition. Life, business is all the same way.
What is the most impactful business book you read and what did you learn from it?
So the most impactful business book is a book that most people wouldn't consider a business book. So of course, my most impactful book is the Bible. Now, as far as a book just recently, I read this book here, and this book is Ramses III, the father of ancient America. And you go, well, how would that help you in business? Because it shows a foundation of understanding about how there's a truth versus a non-truth. And for me, that's always my business method, is to compare truth versus non-truth. And if I can get lined up with the truth in life, in an endeavor, I can be ahead of the game in business by knowing the actual truth and the facts and relaying those truths and facts to other people.
Rodney, we are entering into a quick questions and quick answers round. Are you ready for it?
I am ready. Speed round. Let's go.
What do you want to be remembered for?
Being a man of integrity and truth. So I want to be remembered for someone who seeks truth and then speaks that truth regardless.
How do you overcome a challenge life throws at you?
By finding the root of it. So I'll search to see what's behind it. What's the reasoning behind it? Because if I go off of my knowledge or instincts, then I could be going off an emotion rather than a fact. So that's how I go about it. Let me take a step back, breathe, and figure out where and why it's coming. And then once I figure that out, then the conclusion becomes, obvious, and then I can navigate therein.
Once you have a revenue generating idea, how do you convince your significant other?
My significant other doesn't really get caught up too much into my, if I see something that's a revenue generating opportunity. So we communicate, but it's, the same thing on my wife's behalf. It still comes down to seeking that bottom line, which is whether it's true or not. And as it relates to revenue generation, she kind of, leans towards my judgment, my better judgment on taking on that endeavor.
What do you want to do when you grow up?
That's a great question. That's the best question of all the podcasts I've done. Because I don't believe that just because you've reached a certain age that you actually grew up. So what do I want to be when I grow up? I want to be a better me tomorrow than I was yesterday. So every day I'm trying to grow up and mature. And by that meaning that I'm able to take on the challenges that life throw at you with a smile, with a understanding that everything is actually okay and it'll work out for my benefit in the end, so I don't have to sweat the small stuff.
Who is your living mentor and what is the impact they have on you?
Well, great question again, because you're saying living mentor, because I've had some that are not living, right? Now, God is my mentor. He's still living, right? And will always be living. Jesus is my mentor and he's living and will always be living. So now, as far as on this planet mentors, I had a friend of mine who taught me the first principles of business, how to do business feasibility studies and quiet, corporations and things like that, and understanding law. His name is George. So Big George is a 6'10" guy, and he's the mentor that got me going in the business world. And he's still living today, and he does great in business still today.
Can I interview George, Big George?
You know what? I can ask him. Yeah, that would be. He might be fired up about that. But yeah, I'll throw it his way and see if he wants to do something like that.
Thank you, Rodney. What are you grateful for today?
Just I'm grateful to God for keeping me going through the challenges and holding me up. So I'm grateful for pretty much everything, whether it's a challenge or a reward. I'm grateful for it all because it makes you who you are. And so being that I grew up playing sports, I learned early on that the competitor, right, the competition on the other side is a game. And in life, there's a competition on the other side. And so I view everything pretty much as a competition so that at the end of the day, I come out winning or losing, right? I aim to come out winning every time. So I'm grateful for all of it. I might not like it in the moment that the challenge is happening, but at the end of the day, I accept it as a challenge. And so I'm grateful for everything that pretty much happens.
Why is being impactful important to you?
Because you were born on planet Earth. And if you were born on planet Earth, you were meant to have an impact. And so now what that impact means varies, right? Because you want to impact life, which means you have to impact other people. So the goal is to impact one person other than yourself. And if you can impact more than one, then that's just extra, that's gravy. But if you can just impact one, if everybody impacted one, we'll all be impacted. So we want to impact for positive change. And that's important because I believe that that is life. If you're not impacting positively, then you're not living, it's not life.
How do you start your day?
Pretty much with a breakfast with prayer and a quiet time, which is usually the scriptures. So I'll go to the book, I'll go to the Bible, and that's how I start. And then from there, I'll start going into other things. But that's pretty much how I started, basically every day.
Who is your ideal client?
One that my ideal client is someone that gets it, because not everybody gets it. I mean, you can say everything that's common sense, and some people will never get it, right? So my ideal client is a client that gets out of their own way, and that means you don't go by a bunch of preconceived notions, or you have a bunch of stuff in your head that's clouding your ability to receive new information, which is what we talked about in the beginning, being able to receive new information. So I like a client that asks intelligent questions and then make a decision based on the conclusion of those answers and questions, not based on fears, emotions, and things of that nature. So someone who can kind of, accept that common sense is common sense.
What is the advice you would give to your younger self?
Wow. Now, if I can go back in time, Back to the Future, like that movie, then I would be telling my younger self to not sweat the small stuff back then, and to focus on being the best person that you could be. That's what I would tell my younger self. And then the other thing I would probably tell my younger self is keep it simple, right? Keep life simple. The greatest things are not always the shiny objects. If you have a nice family, you're a good person, you're a good parent, you're a great, husband or whatever you are to your significant other, then that is doing a great thing. And of course, being a great child of the Lord is for me. So I'd say just be more of a quality person. Don't get caught up in trying to push. Let it come, and then accept it as it comes.
How can we support you?
By promoting the book and purchasing the book, right? Because some of that book is talking about my life experiences. Other parts of that book is talking about, things that I see and have studied and read, things I believe that are important to the world right now as it relates to race relations, etc. So I think it's a very important book that would have an incredible impact that would move people forward in a positive manner towards cohesiveness. So to support that book would be, in my opinion, to support life and what life is trying to do for us and to us, which is to bring us all closer together as a human family.
Can you tell us about the title of the book, and people can get it on Amazon or something?
So the book is called The Making of Atoma Merc, and Atoma is Atoma, Merc, short for Mercury. The Making of Atoma Merc, and you can find it on Amazon.com, Barnes and Noble, online. They can always go and get information from my website, which is www.slrd.net, and the SLRD stands for Street Legend Rodney Dixon, because I was a basketball guy before I was a business guy.
That's a great website. And what would you say about your guest experience on the show today?
Really appreciate it. I like the questions. I like the fact that the questions are straightforward and there's not a lot of, messing around. It's just, hey, let's get this information out here and deal with that. So I appreciate it.
What would you say as a final word?
I'd say thank you for having me here. And hopefully when people hear this podcast, they gain something from it. And you can always go to my website. You can always send me a message directly from the website and communicate.
Thank you, Rodney H. Dixon, for your time and wisdom on the behalf of Entrepreneur Empowerment Club and our entire team. We really appreciate you. I hope our path cross again with another guest. Until then, you have a wonderful time.
You too. Thank you.